All right, so one of the things that we put together inside the Barn Boss Leadership was what makes an informal leader, or any leader for that standpoint. And there's tons of different analogies and theories and thought processes and paradigms of what leadership should be, or what you should look like, what you should do. But in the grand scheme of things, leadership really comes down to just a couple of basic items. And for me, what made sense to me in looking back over my career, it came down to safety, leadership, and training. So SLT, safety, leadership, and training. Now, you noticed I put the S and the T down at the bottom. Within safety, there's a couple of things that come into place. One is being technically competent. If you're technically competent, meaning you know what the hell you're doing, excuse the language, but if you know what you're doing and you study your craft, are you going to be safe? Yeah, you're going to be safe. You talk about understanding, what fire behavior is, and building construction, and the fire dynamics, PPE. If you study this stuff, are you going to be safe? Are you going to be knowledgeable? Technically competent? Absolutely. So, technically competent, study. Now over here, training. So we talked about technically competent, knowing, studying, education. If we do that, we're going to be safe at our jobs because we have the knowledge and skill sets to back up making the right decisions, performing the correct task correctly. Now, is that enough? You can't stand on just one leg. You also have to look at the training aspect. So we talk about no-fail training, behavioral modification, self-fulfilling prophecy. All right, when I go out and train, do I train just to do it? Or is there a purpose? Are there objectives in place for what I'm trying to accomplish? Am I doing it because I understand that there is no option of failing on the fire ground? Everybody on that fire ground or that emergency scene is expecting me to perform to a certain level. And it is my duty, it is my responsibility to hold myself accountable for performing to that level. Mastery is the minimum standard. If you remembered in one of our other sessions, we talked about standard of excellence and setting that. Well, here it is. Mastery is the minimum standard. So within that training, I need to be familiar with my gear. I need to be familiar with my tools. It's not just a firefighter and their tool, it's a firefighter and just another extension of their arm when they go out there and they're performing a task. Navy SEALs, they come together for 18 months. These are just ordinary individuals, but they're performing extraordinary actions. They come together for 18 months and train and train. They train for adaptability. They look at all the different situations. They look at building the team together. They understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. They leverage where they see weaknesses. They leverage where they see strengths, and they create a team that's unbreakable. They study and perform tasks over and over and over again. When I began my journey with the Georgia Smoke Diver program, I trained for months, physically and mentally. There's a test that you have to take. I prepared. I read the materials. I went out. I did the drills. I worked out in full gear. Then I went to the gym. Then I went and ran 3 miles. And I came back and worked out in gear again. Did this for months. Got ready to take the state test. I was prepared. Passed the written, passed the first physical obstacle. Got to the second one and failed it. But I trained for months. You want to talk about being devastated? I'd never failed professionally like that. And all I could think was, how did I train for months and miss out? But I didn't stop there. I went back. I continued to train. I continued to push myself. Was I sore? Yeah. Was I tired? Yes. But I didn't stop. and I kept going, and I kept training, and I kept putting my hands on the tools. I kept pushing myself, challenging myself, kept learning more. So as I developed this training, and I continued to get ready, I went to that next state test, and I passed it. And I ranked in the top 20, which gave me a seat at the table. I trained day in and day out, on shift, off shift, to prepare myself for what I was going to endure during that program. Navy SEALs trained for 18 months with that team of ordinary individuals. They're not chief officers and just in generals. They're a bunch of ordinary individuals performing extraordinary actions as informal leaders. They know there's a minimum standard and they train for that minimum standard. It's called mastery. We have to do the same thing. As we develop these skills in this training, we do become technically competent, but we become technically competent because we put our hands on it, we understand our limitations, we understand our strengths, and we can perform our task physically. So as you become safe from knowing your job, understanding the educational aspects, understanding through studying, things of that nature, we're going to be safe. All right? If we train for it, we put our hands on it, now we start to bridge some of this gap. All right? And it goes both ways. It starts to cross over because there's going to be one coming with the other, one coming with the other. As this occurs, you're building up to what is leadership. You're building up the technical base, your competency, your skills, understanding your craft, learning your history, understanding what the badge stands for. We're leading up to that leadership, not position, but leadership influence. And all of this right here is experience. It's on-the-job experience. It's life experience. It's experience built in with your safety, your knowledge base, built in with your training, your hands-on, learning what you're capable of doing and how far you can push yourself. And you're driving up. Once you get to this position, does it ever really stop? No. This is just the model. There is no, all of a sudden you're a leader and that's it. If you're a true leader, this just gets bigger and bigger because you never stop learning. You never stop looking for opportunities. You never stop mentoring people and sharing your knowledge. You are that servant leader. You are that barn boss because you're taking the time to take care of your people. You're taking the time because you care. You're taking the time because you know that lives are on the line.